It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and we are today with an episode about another person whose name has been quite commonly mentioned in regards to World Economic Forum and New World Order. So this is Saturn Day, Venus hour, with the moon in 21 degrees Capricorn, Saturn ruling the midheaven, Saturn in the 11th house, and the ascendant is right on Aries, with Mars in the 8th house in Scorpio, 6 degrees. The Sun is square in Pluto, so this is context. Uranus has given us a break from the 22nd degree of Taurus. So Uranus is on the 21st degree of Taurus. A little bit of a break from the mass massacre themes and lethal acts of rebellion that we've seen. Venus, however, is on the 11th degree of Virgo. She's applying to trine Jupiter, and this is Venus hour. So perhaps finances. Now the ascendant is right on Aries, and let's see how this plays out. So the person at question here is a person named Klaus Schwab. We don't have a birth time, and so we have the chart more so the way that we know it. If the moon is indeed on 22nd degree of Pisces, it would be very revealing, but we don't know that this is the degree because we do not have an ascendant here. So Klaus Schwab, I'm going to take a look at the chart to see what I have to say about the chart and then read about the person, quite as I did with Soros on my other episode. So Jupiter at 22 degrees Aquarius, which is very likely to be the degree, this is the degree of to kill and be killed by Nicholas Stoyanovich degree theory. And Jupiter has to do with both children, but also philosophy and religion. So this person could be having beliefs that either lead to his death or lead to his performing killing. And while when we looked at Soros, we saw that Soros also had the 22nd degree with his Mars and Sun, and he was being an activist and promoting death with dignity. Okay, so we don't know how this plays out, but this is a person whose beliefs can both lead to his killing as well as kill people, or there's something to do with the guru that he has, or something to do with the child as well. It can be a part of this. So this is the first thing that I noticed. Is Jupiter in Aquarius. This is the person that holds certain philosophy or has certain gurus that deal with humanity at large. Okay, the structure that is alternative to the Capricorn structure. Saturn that's ruling this Jupiter is conjuncting the Sun in Aries. Sun in Aries is exalted. So it's a very strong position for the Sun to be in Aries, and she's on her degree of exaltation. However, Saturn that can create restriction, also death and decay, is conjuncting this Sun. So we have a very exalted Sun with a very tight limitation. And so there can be, the person can be close to the father, or alternatively restricted by the father, a father or mother, okay, some solar figure in their lives. Sun and Saturn are ruling opposite signs, and so they're not blending naturally. So this gives a certain type of maturity to a person. It can be that he saw death. It can be that something to do with grieving or missing father can sometimes be with Sun Saturn. And it creates difficulty or restriction on the person's ability to feel confident and shine. But this also creates a certain type of resilience, an ability to be resilient through grief or death or decay. So back to Astro Team. Yes. And he has wow, it's a lot of 22 degree here. He has Venus on the 22nd degree of Aries. And Venus can be sister, Venus can be, again, we don't have his ascendant, can be spouse, and that can mean, it's a very little degree for Venus, okay? So it means that this Venus in Aries can be a Martian, spouse or sister, and women in his life can be Martian and can be involved in killing and being killed. And again, it can be something as simple as having a value that supports that with dignity, okay, like we saw in Sora's chart. So it's just mentioning that the prevalence of this degree. Mercury he has on 27 degrees Aries. Not too far from my own Mercury, but his Venus and Mercury are in between the location of Aries today, okay, and the ascendant here was on Aries. So it's Venus on 22nd degree, Andromeda constellation, Aries right now transiting his Venus, and the Mercury on the 27th degree. So his Mercury and Venus are very close to Rahu and Aries. And so this person is going to have a very meaningful set of eclipses coming up, okay? The one in Taurus is also indirectly affecting his Venus because Venus rules Taurus and his Venus is very close to Rahu. So it's going to be very directly affected by the coming eclipses. Okay. He has his Uranus and Mars conjunct, with Mars on the 12th degree and Uranus on the 11th degree of Taurus. Now, Mars is in detriment in Taurus. It's a fixed Mars. But it is Mars that can be boots on ground, because Mars is war and Taurus is land, so he can be fighting over land or very territorial. But this Mars is conjuncting Uranus, and that means that his means of fight and achieving his goals can be technological and can be through rebellion and through throwing chaos, okay? Because Uranus is also, how does Uranus has a silly walk, okay? And he throws chaos around. It's not like Aries, but it's a different kind of, there is chaos, and out of this chaos there is a new order. So his strategy can be to throw chaos, but this is not something that he is doing intentionally in the sense of like a Scorpio planning things. It's more like this is his means of action. It can even be a coping mechanism for him. Also, his actions are involved with rebelliousness, with science, and with revolutions. So whatever action he takes, this can be a person that whatever action he takes, let's say even want to date someone, okay? Then the way that he would date, or let's say he dates someone and then he decides, you know what, I'm going to pay 50-50 not in Germany or something, like in a different culture, like in Italy. Say I'm going to pay 50-50 and see how she responds. Okay, it's just his actions, his courting, his the way that he gets what he's after is involving both being fixed, but also being unusual, being unconventional, being rebellious. It can be something as simple as that. And of course, it also includes technology. So this is a person, okay, by the way, he could do astrology as well. Yes, the person could be very informed with astrology. Uranus rules astrology. Uranus here is in the 11th degree. And indeed, the name Schwab began to appear in recent years as Uranus was crossing the 11th degree. Now, the 11th degree, according to Nicholas Stoyanovich degree theory, has to do with self-inflicted death. Now, there is a great philosophical question around it. Okay, normally people want to live, and only when the circumstances of their life make it, they don't see a way out, and sometimes it's not because they are blind, then they may desire to die with dignity, and this is what we call suicide. So Uranus on the 11th can be the suicide bomber. It can be self-inflicted death of some sort. Okay. And Uranus in itself can denote of suicide. Uranus usually denotes also divorce when it comes to relationships. So this is a person, for example, that could go through breakup like a bit of a revolution, or have a bit of a revolution around relationships, and sometimes maybe even desire, or his spouse desires to end life or something like this. With Venus here on the 22nd, there can also be either the theme of death with dignity, where there is assisted death, or unfortunately murder-suicide. Okay, that can be even in intimate relationships here. So this is something that the native can be both on all sides of this equation. Okay, it's not the gender question, but the circumstances question. Okay. And so his actions are to do with the zeitgeist of Uranus in Taurus. And indeed, when Uranus entered Taurus, we began to hear the name Schwab. I said, I need to see who is this Schwab. Is Pluto is in 27 degrees Cancer. Okay. It can be, if his moon is indeed in Pisces, that Pluto is trining the moon, or the moon is trining Pluto, which can give resilience through emotional transformation. It's not an easy aspect in any way, shape, or form, but it's easier than the hard aspect. Huh? This Pluto squares Venus and squares Mercury. Now, Pluto-Mercury square, and this Pluto and Mercury are an exact square. This can denote of a person that has depth of thinking, but is coming to changes of his opinions and communication style and communication and thinking, or even thinking skills through crisis. He goes through crisis of expression. Okay. And because of the presence of Mercury in Aries, it can be his ability to communicate who he is going through crisis. So he can try to self-assert himself, but using such words that steer such conflict that he did not know even how to deal with this. So this is a person that because just by merit of his communication, he can be very inquisitive and have a lot of insights, penetrating insights, but it's difficult to communicate these insights. Pluto in Cancer is the generation of the people who were either obsessed or exposed the darkness to do with their motherland, mothering, caregiving, and security and intelligence, because this is also Cancer quality, as well as food industry, what makes us feel safe emotionally, and even intuition. Okay, Cancer is also ruling that. It is ruling the moon. Projections. And there is this square between Venus and Pluto, which makes for a person that could both be recipient of crisis in relationships where he is abused, or could be powerful over another, so his spouse could be abused. It's a difficult position for Venus and Pluto to be. For people who have hard aspects, it's always good to surround yourself with people or charts that have the trine or the sextile of Pluto and Venus, and you will run into them in your life usually, because it's like remedy. They help to mitigate this, but this tells me that the issue of finances, taboos, sexuality, land, and perhaps war with this Aries sign, and even identity, can be very much the source of conflict. And so peaceful relationships are not easy to come by. In general, anything to do with the Venusian, whether it's the sensual pleasure, ease, safety, even acquiring land and maintaining land, okay, can be a point of an issue in this person's life, can inflict difficulty or pain or struggle. Neptune. So as Neptune is in Virgo, both Pluto and Neptune retrograde, Uranus direct. You know, when you have Pluto and Neptune retrograde and Uranus direct in 11th degrees, kind of like, well, you're not sure about what is power and what is a way to stand in your power. You're not sure about what is surrender and how to surrender, Neptune, or when to surrender. But one thing for sure you know is how to kill yourself. Okay? So this gives us a very challenging position for persons to be. It's like, I'm confused about the things that are like, surrendering or standing in my power. But one thing I clearly know is how to end my life. So that can create a lot of difficulty in a native chart. This Neptune, however, trines Uranus, well, sort of, kind of it's in a very wide orb to trine Uranus and Mars. Very wide orb. It in conjunct Venus, which is a hard aspect, is not denoted here. And the in conjunction, it means that to do one sign of the in conjunction, you need to sacrifice the other. And here I credit Jewel from Truth in Aspect Astrology for talking about the in conjunction as a place where something is sacrificed. Okay, to do you, I need to sacrifice me. And so with Neptune Venus, to gain a spiritual experience around connection, you actually need to sacrifice the connection. Or to have a connection, you need to sacrifice some idealization that you have, maybe over the person you're having connection with, but it's business, because it's also business, or even enemies. Neptune in Virgo. So Neptune is drugs, Virgo is chemistry, so pharmaceutical drugs. Neptune is ideation and devaluation. So the ideation and devaluation, if you think about the Prozac era, do you remember the Prozac controversies? Okay, way before antipsychotics, way before beta blockers. Okay, those are the same old SSRIs, the Prozac stuff. So this is still even before that, because he was born in 1930, I think. And this Neptune is opposing the moon, probably opposing the moon, okay, in orb. And this means that there is a great emotional ideation and devaluation, okay? This person's emotional senses, not only the moon is in Pisces, which is incredibly deep, it goes to the highs of lows, the bottom of the ocean, and the top of the tsunami wave. Now they have the opposition to Neptune. It means that person could deal with addiction due to emotions going crazy. It could have very elevated states as well as incredibly depressive states with this combination. And there is the in conjunction to Jupiter, which we must not forget. So it can be that due to drugs or addiction, or even herbs or stuff, or even like mushrooms or stuff, he would need to sacrifice a bit of his worldview, or for his worldview, he would need to sacrifice his medical habits. Okay, or this is a person that could do self-medication, but not in not necessarily in an effective way with this one. Okay, self-medication does not mean you're not successful, but in this case, there is challenge to feel clearly, and yeah, but there can be attempt of self-medication. The only thing that supports this is this quasi-trine with Uranus and Mars. So this person, if he wanted to kill himself, he would probably use some drug to do so, and could be successful. Rahu, his Rahu is in 27 degrees Scorpio, which means that his Ketu is in 27 degrees Taurus, which is only 2 degrees away from Medusa Gorgon, from Algol, Beta Persei. Okay, so Ketu and Beta Persei. And this can be a myriad of things. It can mean that there's past life to do with the stories of Medusa Gorgon. Maybe he was, like a Medusa figure in his past life, and now he's heading towards the more Scorpionic age, but with his Mars, that's ruling Rahu, closer to Ketu, okay, in Taurus. It means he's going forward to go backwards. Now, there's always a bit of forwards and backwards with Rahu and Ketu, because we're not abandoning Ketu. We're letting go, but we're also receiving spiritual information that helps us to do concrete actions. And in here, the ruler of the way he has to do the deep psychology transformation. Okay, what Scorpio is calling for, which is getting to the core of something and rising like the phoenix from the flames. He has to do it boots on ground. He has to do it with land. Okay, he has to take advantage of what he's understanding about the world, where he has no other planets in Scorpio. So, and he hasn't been there. So this means that this person actually does not have the penetrating insight of the sign of Scorpio, including to how to manipulate people, by the way. But what he does have, he has this Mercury that's square in Pluto, exact tight square with Pluto, that gives him this penetrative insight through Pluto, that is in Cancer, so he gets his psychology from Cancer and Pluto in Cancer, and that is food, nourishment, what people need to feel safe, what he needs to feel safe. But what he doesn't get is the war tactics of Scorpio, okay? And it can be good or bad. The other day I saw a person who is doing surviving in nature, and he was in Mexico, and he roasted a scorpion. It's the first time that I saw this. The person roasted the scorpion and he ate the scorpion. And I'm like, ah! So apparently they are really tasty. So a Scorpio can be roasted. You have to watch nature and see for yourself. And when you are hungry, you will eat Scorpios. If you can hunt them, you will eat them. So Scorpios are not afraid for no reason. But mostly Scorpios have a very deep and penetrating insight and the ability to regenerate and transform, and the ability to also be quite lethal if they are being threatened or even perceived to be threatened. So he doesn't have planets in Scorpio. He's never been to Scorpio land. Okay, but what he does have is the penetrating insights of Mercury and Pluto. So he's going through his crisis and Mercury is in a Mars ruled sign, is in Aries. So he's going through his crisis of consciousness in other ways. He has depth of insight. He's just not coming from the Scorpio pole, is coming from kind of like a child that has an idea or tries to apply something, and boom, everything collapses. Maybe a child tries to build a car. Okay, Venus is also to do with cars. Mercury's technology, tries to build a car, and everything explodes, and he explodes his house and the parents, and they lose their house. And now this child has to try again because he was meant to build cars. But you can see that is he definitely got his insight as to what went wrong, but it was a big explosion. Okay, and with this Uranus here, it can absolutely be the case. So Lilith here is in Sagittarius, and this means that he is both drawn to the type of feminine or female or whatnot that likes to be free. Lilith likes to be free in general. She will not be above or beneath anybody. Lilith in Sagittarius is an extra freedom, okay? And his philosophy of being free. So what he's magnetically drawn to is actually women that desire to be free. Okay, somebody who is the Lilith Sagittarius is the woman that maybe will not commit to anybody, that wants free love, that wants to travel, and while nice to his Venus, it's in conjunct with his Mars. Okay, because it's Mars, maybe he wants to possess, maybe he wants to, although Mars with Uranus needs space, but it can be a bit of a difficulty. Okay, you're attracted, a lot of people, regardless of gender, you can be attracted to free people, but you want monogamy. Okay, it doesn't, with this, I don't know if with Venus Pluto, you could desire to be more possessive, or even the partner could be having this side. So there is the great tension between the desire for liberation, for even sexual liberation and freedom, and the desire to possess, to control, to hold, to belong to, okay? That is existing there. We see Jupiter sextiling Venus and Mercury. Jupiter sextile Venus is always a good aspect to have. If they genuinely are both on the 22nd degree, this can be an agreement that is a bit lethal. And again, it doesn't mean good or bad, but his world philosophy is compatible with his relations, and its Jupiter can alleviate some of the struggles there with Pluto. So we have a bit of a volatile, lethal, explosive living talisman. Okay, if this person was a talisman, you would say, Shirley, what do you think is this election? What does this talisman do? I would say, I don't know. It can kill people. It can find a way to kill people, like to commit suicide. It can use drugs in a certain way, maybe to kill people or commit suicide. It can... Yes, why would anybody pick this election? I don't know. And the sun is exalted. I don't know. Let's say something to use drugs to commit suicide or to kill people. That's the chart. What can you say? If somebody told me, Shirley, this is a talisman, I made this election for him, and I'm not a professional magician. But they told me, I choose this election for a talisman, and they are informed with degrees here by Nicolas Stoyanovich. You say, what do you think I made this election for? I would say, so many 22 degrees, you probably want to finish somebody off. But here I see 11 degrees earlier, you're trying to kill yourself. Or are you trying to facilitate for people to kill themselves? Or what is going on? Is this like explosive stuff, and you intend to use drugs to do this? Or maybe you have ideation of massacre or ideation of suicide, something like this. Or if it was talismanic magic, maybe to protect yourself from that. So this is the chart. No idea who that person is. I always hear Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing and be happy and blah, 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 blah. And you see that he mainly, what the reason that these people are acting the way that they are acting is mainly they are trying to solve their intrigues with themselves. We all do. We all do. So, a chairperson of World Economic Forum. He was born in 1938, March 30, 85 years old. Klaus Martin Schwab, German engineer, economist, and founder of the World Economic Forum. He has acted as the WEF chairman since founding the organization in 1971. This is him in 2011. So he has a spouse, Hilde Schwab, 2 children, including Nicole Schwab and Oliver M. Schwab. He was educated in Zurich, Freiburg, and Harvard. So beautiful places. Freiburg is a beautiful university city. Early life and education. Born in March 30, 1938, to Eugen Wilhelm Schwab and Erika Epprecht in Ravensburg. His parents, pardon my Dutch, Ravensburg. His parents had moved to Switzerland from Switzerland to Germany during the Third Reich in order for his father to assume the role of director of Escher Weiss AG, industrial company and contractor for Nazi regime. Escher. Do you know the M.K. Escher, the painter? So, Escher Weiss AG. Engineering of turbine construction. Okay. His family was monitored by the Gestapo in 1944 and interrogated his mother. She was from Zurich, first speaking Swiss with a Swiss accent in public, so they were not speaking Hochdeutsch. Schwab was raised Catholic. He is a citizen of Germany, although he has 3 Swiss grandparents and 2 Swiss brothers. He attended first and second grade in the primary school of Wädenswil, district of Zurich in Switzerland. After the Second World War, his family moved to Germany, where Schwab attended this Gymnasium in Ravensburg until his Abitur in 1957. Okay, Abitur is when you finish high school. That has not changed since. 1961, he graduated as a mechanical engineer from the Swiss Federal Institution of Technology in Zurich and awarded him a doctorate in engineering called, I'll entertain myself, der längsgefristige Exportkredit als betriebswirtschaftliches Problem des Maschinenbaues. Maschinenbau is building machines. So longer-term export credit as a business problem in mechanical engineer. So he's talking about the leverage to create machinery. It's like the business issue of creating machinery. Okay, so already to do with business. Okay, you see the Taurus here and machinery, creating turbines. So innovation, okay, that about the Venus and the Mercury and the stellium in Aries. He was also awarded for a doctorate in economics from University of Freiburg and a Master of Public Administration degree from John F. Kennedy School Government at Howard. While attending Howard, Schwab found a mentor in former National Security Advisor and a Secretary of the State, Henry Kissinger. The same Henry that says within 10 years Israel will no longer exist and on the eclipse. Okay? So this is Henry Kissinger, which is another notable person that we need to get to know more at this time. And so you see how smoothly it was bridged that basically his father had a business that was a part of like providing for the Nazi regime, because what could you do if you needed a job? And then went to Harvard and so on and so forth. Um, Career: Schwab was a professor of business policy at the University of Geneva from 1972 to 2003, and since he had been an honorary professor there. Schwab and his wife Hilde created the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship in 1998. What is this social entrepreneurship? Oh, before this, let's look at the picture that says 1,000 words. So this is the European Management Forum in Davos, 1971, carrying the speech. And Russian President Vladimir Putin and Schwab shaking hands at the World Economic Forum Russia CEO Roundtable at 2007. Okay. 1971, Schwab founded the European Management Forum, which was renamed as the World Economic Forum in 1987. So he was friends by his father with Nazi regime. He was friends with Kissinger personally, studied in all the right places in Germany and in Harvard, and then did something global to do with economics. And is located in Geneva. Yeah, but he is Swiss. 1971, he also published Moderne Unternehmensführung im Maschinenbau, which we don't have. Okay, building machines, modern Unternehmensführung. I will have to translate if you don't do this for me. So corporational management. Why did we not get an English translation for that? Okay, corporational management, modern corporational management in the building of machines. If you want to make money when there is war and when there is peace, then you build machines and you manage the finances that provide for the building of machines. What machines? I don't know, machine guns. You know, it can be a car, it can be, yeah, and I'm reminded with you can Google patents by Richard Feynman. And he has a nice story where some person calls him and he said, "Are you Richard Feynman?" He says, "Yes, I am Richard Feynman." Well, we would want you on the laboratory to develop this submarine or whatnot. And he said, "I am a physicist. I'm not an engineer. Why would you say, oh, because your name is on the patent?" And apparently one day he came into his professor's room and the professor said, "Listen, whatever idea you have when you study physics, don't take it for granted. List it. We will write it under the list of patents." And Richard Feynman denotes one principle in physics, and he says, if you use this principle, then you can get a nuclear missile, or you can get a steam engine, or you can get a rocket to space. And he goes out of the room. It's like, what do you want from me? This one idea can be so many things, goes out. And the professor wrote those things down and he listed them as patents. And so for the patents, he had to sell the patents and he had to be paid $1 from the government for his patent. And so he insisted to receive this $1 and bought some candies for the people at the lab. So this was patents. He tells it way better. And now you understand that the management of wealth to build machines, it can be an electric car, it can be a sustainable jet plane, and it can be a rocket to space, and it can be a nuclear bomb, and you know, it's a patent. You get $1 for it. If you think about it as a physicist, that's about it. But the rest of the wealth is for the production, for the development of these very tools. So you can develop nuclear energy because you say, I want to light a city. Okay, there's the stories with Iran. They say we have nuclear energy, but only for friendly reasons. Okay, so you can light a city, but you can also blow up a city with the same nuclear energy. Of course, you change this, you change that. It's not exactly the same, but this is the way things work. Okay, the same technology that creates to you a rocket, it can put the rocket in space, and it can put the rocket as nuclear. And what you won't develop technology. Okay, you stay in the Stone Age. So the wealth is wealth. So if you want to develop some weapon, then it's no problem. You say, I have a brand new rocket to space that I want to develop. And if you're considered rational player, it's no problem. You get from the World Economic Forum, you get budget, money to try and try again. And like I said, this is a chart of a person to do with innovation that understands it takes a lot of trial and error to build machinery. 2003, Schwab appointed Jose Maria Figueres as CEO of WEF, his intended successor. In October 2004, Figueres resigned over his undeclared recipe of more than $900,000 in consultancy fees. Okay, so if you are an astrologer and you're a charlatan, it's no problem. You make maybe $300 for a meeting. If you are consulting here and you are charlatan, you make $900,000, but nobody asks you for a certificate. It's the same trial and error. It's business. You don't know if it will work. So yes, in consultancy fees from the French telecommunication firm Alcatel, while he was working at the forum. 2006, Transparency International highlighted this incident in their Global Corruption Report. Yes, the same usual things, the same committees, they write big reports, and they get, cataloged in the library. And if nobody stops the world for that, and if somebody stops the world for that, then there are powders, and there are rockets, and there are revolutions, and you can always pull some, Pakistan, India, Crimea, Putin, Israel, Palestine, transgender, blah, blah, blah. And then, you put a couple of cards, and then you keep the thing and you go next. Okay, you make business. Schwab founded the Global Shapers community in 2011 with the WEF to work with young people in shaping local, regional, and global agendas. It's always good to be specific when you define a goal, shaping local, regional, and global agendas. If you get to have your title of your endeavors written like this and still get money, you know you are both in the right and wrong places at the same time. 2015, the WEF was formally recognized by the Swiss government as an international body. It's not that international. As author, Schwab has authored and co-authored several books. Some consider him to be an evangelist or a stakeholder capitalism. The Fourth Industrial Revolution, the subject of the 2016 book he wrote, is an idea that he is credited with popularizing. January 2017, Stephen Pohl in The Guardian criticized Schwab's Fourth Industrial Revolution book, pointing that the Internet of Things would probably be hackable. He also criticized Schwab for showing that future technologies may be used for good and evil, but not taking a position on the issue, instead offering only vague policy recommendations. Okay, vagueness is, if you think about Saturn in Pisces, is such a great time to elect for a new world order. Why? Because Saturn is structure and Pisces is anything, is lack of, is blending into things. Okay, so this is vague structure. It's never been a better time to form a very vague regulations than Saturn in Pisces. Okay. The Financial Times innovation editor found the clunky lifelessness of the prose led him to suspect this book was written by humans who inhabit a strange twilight world of stakeholders, externalities, infection points, and developatory sandboxes. Now, this is where you don't know if it is just another person throwing a tomato at the movie. Or, there's a beautiful song by Georg Kreisler called Musikkritika. So you don't know if it's just another Musikkritika. Nobody hates music like the Musikkritika. Or do they have a point there? Because the fact that technology is neither good nor bad and it's how you use it is as old as technology. You can use the wheel to drive a car to your wedding. You can use the wheel to drive a tank to destroy a city. Okay, it's nothing new. And how to regulate technology? It's a genuine scientific question. The moral circumstances are genuinely intriguing. They are genuinely intricate. And so, I don't know what is the stakeholders, externalities, but Switzerland is very much known to make a lot of wealth from those things that you don't take sides. Okay? Whether in its banking system, and then we see Schwab's work with managing the wealth to develop technologies. Like, either way, in war times, in peace times, either way, people need technology, whether people want to go on a vacation or people want to, send a rocket to space, or people want to send a nuclear rocket to bomb some city. Either way, it needs money. Either way, it's the same technology. Either way, you cash it in and you make the money. Because what can you do in times of peace, in times of war? It's life, but make money. The political scientist Klaus Schwab has argued that the dominant ideology of the Fourth Industrial Revolution is transhumanism. Yes, very plausible. Okay, with this Mars conjunct Uranus in Venus sign is the desire to integrate technology. Okay, the action and passion is integrated with technology. The drive, the strategy is technology. And this person, okay, when Mars is next to Uranus, when Mars is technological, it deserves an episode of its own. Let's say you are sick. So you would not think I would go to travel in the forest or will go to the forest. Maybe you have a trauma in the forest, okay? You would not think about this. What you would think is, what kind of technology can I make to alleviate my sickness? So let's say I have a bad mood, okay? And then you think, okay, I'm thinking about chaos theory. I'm thinking about interfering in certain intervals to regulate my nervous system. Let's try to do this and regulate my moods this way. How about you take a walk in the forest? Okay, you don't think about this. And I can attest to that because when Uranus was around my Mercury, I was thinking the exact same thing. It seemed like a good idea at this time. I'm very happy that I did not develop that because people are dying and are having like a lot of bugs in that system. But it seemed like a good idea at the time. When Uranus was next to my Mercury, it's all I could think about. oh, they have these things that with chaos theory that interfere with the heart rate to regulate the heart. So we can do that with the brain. And my good friend, the Good Samaritan, that tells me, but it can have bugs, but it can have this. No, it will be a great idea. We will fix it. Like every program has a bug in it. And he looks at me, it's like, maybe we will study some quantum chaos, okay, to calm you down. And I definitely needed to calm myself down. Unfortunately for Elon Musk, it did not age well. So Neuralink is doing that, and unfortunately it is ruining lives more so than it is saving it. But when you have Uranus next to a certain planet, your solution to a problem is what technology do I develop? What innovative technology do I develop to deal with this problem? Okay, you ran out of milk. We can print milk. What's the problem? Why don't we have printers to print milk? Okay, that was me doing Model UN. Guilty as charged. So it was a transit for me, but when you have it natally, you don't come out of it. You're tired of, you are too tired in the morning, and you're too tired to make yourself a cup of coffee, but you're not too tired to program a robot that will do it for you. This is when Mars becomes technological. This is how you deal with everyday mundane problem. This is also the meaning of Mars drive, solution of problems, Uranus, technology, innovation, revolution. If so. And so transhumanism, we have a problem with humanity. Okay, then let's make it technological. You see, it's not good or bad. It's just this person that's coming about to think about the world in a certain way. And we need to hold them accountable. You know? I had the Good Samaritan to tell me, but this will create bugs within people. Okay? I was trying to market in Model UN to have food printers all over the world. Good morning, GMOs. But I didn't think that. I was like, but hey, we can print food, so why is there hunger in the world? If that was what I thought about. It seemed very humanistic. Right with Uranus in Taurus, I was like, oh, maybe I should promote the meat that you make with technology. And there's like, and my channeling was like processed meat. And I'm like, is it? It was a processed meat. I had to listen to the voice of reason, but it took some time. Because Uranus is very ideological. It doesn't want to see suffering in the world. And that it makes a little bit of a silly walk to achieve that. And it's a bit funny and satirical in its own way. It's true. So that's what I think about this Mars-Uranus and how it plays out here. Criticism. Salary level and lack of financial transparency. While Schwab declared that excessive high management salaries were no longer socially acceptable, his own annual salary of about 1 million Swiss francs, a little more than $1 million US, has been repeatedly questioned by the media. Okay, so this is where the only place where the public sector gets paid. The Swiss Radio and Television Corporation SRF mentioned this salary level in the context of ongoing public contributions to the WEF and the fact that the firm does not pay any federal taxes. Tax evasion. Okay, this is Switzerland. This is Switzerland. This is Swiss wisdom. Moreover, the former Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, I read it right, journalist Jürgen Dünsch made the criticism that the WEF's financial reports were not very transparent since neither income nor expenditures were broken down. Neither income nor expenditures were broken down. For a person with dyscalculia, maybe they need employees. If I have to write a report, it is a local, regional, and global something. And that $1 million. So I think I would be okay in this job because I have dyscalculia. So I cannot give you the income and outcome. I tried to be a cashier once and I wrote instead of 60, I wrote 600 and I had a minus 600 in my cashier. Fortunately, they understood that I'm not a thief, but I'm just a silly person. But I could not work anymore because I felt so bad. Not good with counting. But for $1 million, I think I could do it. And maybe they would hire me. Maybe he has a job for me. Schwab has also drawn ire for mixing the finances. And this is economical, right? This is economical forum. Maybe I should move to Switzerland. This is the economical forum. Schwab has also drawn ire for mixing the finances of non-for-profit wealth and other for-profit business venture. It's always good to mix your non-profit and your profitable business together. So you create another vague term. You see, it's not like the other, if you think about all those wealthy people, it's like, I have a fund and I donate money to my fund and this is tax evasion and I control the research. He didn't even do that. Some of my businesses are for profit, some of my businesses not for profit. It is a local, regional, and global thing. And yes, what do you need? Income, outcome is privacy. He's not Jewish. You can't blame it on the Jews. This is a Swiss man. This is Switzerland. This is Swiss wisdom. People blame it on the Jews. Jews have to go to school. But he's teaching at Howard, Geneva. He's in Geneva if you want a PhD. To teach you how to do this business. For example, the WEF awarded a multi-million-dollar contract to the US Web in 1998. Yet shortly after the deal went through, Schwab took a board seat at the same company, reaping valuable stock options. You see this person dealing with finances. Me, afraid to open a business because I don't have money for international accountant. This person, okay, we will fund some global stuff, like he solves problems. Good friends with Kissinger. This business, his father's business, was contributing to the Nazi regime, okay, and they blamed the Jews. Jews have to go to school to do this. I have no... What I can relate to is this difficulty to write these numbers because I make mistakes with those calculations. If somebody tells me the theory of an equation, then I can correct his mistakes by the theory. But if I need to develop an equation from these numbers, then I cannot. This is why I did not go to study physics, because you needed to develop an equation, and I don't know, with this calculation thing, I get mixed. But I can relate to people who have this. I can say, okay, maybe I could do a financial global forum with regional, global, something, yeah, the income, outcome, for profit, not for profit, blah, 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 blah. $1 million, okay, I will be happy. What do I know what I have? It's a new world order. Building some machines, though this is a problem, because I want to do good for humanity. It's my problem, huh? Difficult to survive this way. Capture of democratic structures and institutions. According to the Transnational Institute, TNI, the forum is planning to replace a recognized democratic model. So let's replace democracy with a model where a self-selected group of stakeholders makes decisions on the behalf of the people. You tell me that this person that doesn't know to write income and output will make decisions. I mean, if I get to earn $1 million, maybe he's right, but I don't think this is the case. This is literally the intention. According to the Transnational Institute, the forum is planning to replace a recognized democratic model with a model of self-selected group of stakeholders. Okay, it's people with money that make decisions on behalf of the people. Do you ask me if I see it in the chart? I don't see it in the chart. Don't blame astrology for everything. The think tank summarizes that we are increasingly entering a world where gatherings such as the WEF meetings in Davos are a silent global coup d'etat. Coup d'etat, coup, okay? D'etat, the state. To capture governance. But you see, the funny thing, I have more chances to get a job at his corporation than in your democracy. It's scary. People, house your homeless. Give place to the artists. Work easy. Controversy with Davos municipality. June 2021, Schwab sharply criticized the profiteering, complacency and lack of commitment of the municipality of Davos in relation to the WEF annual meeting. He mentioned that the preparation for the COVID-related meeting in Singapore 2021-2022 had created an alternative to its Swiss host and seized the chance that the annual meeting will stay in Davos between 40 and 70%. So it's between Davos and Singapore. Awards and honors, because a man like this has to receive awards. Among other awards, Schwab has been conferred with the French Legion of Honor, Knight Distinction, the Grand Cross with Star of National Order of Germany, the Japanese Grand Cordon of the Order of the Rising Sun. Order of the Rising Sun is so Saturn, Sun, okay, exalted Sun in Aries, and then the degree of exaltation with Saturn next to it is the Order of the Rising Sun. This is actually astrology. He has also awarded to Dan David Prize and was recognized by Queen Elizabeth as an honorary knight commander of the Order of Saint Michael and Saint George. So it's also a part of the Order of Saints. Schwab has also received honorary degrees from various universities, including the National University of Singapore, the Kenoan University of Technology in Lithuania. There's his publications and books. Klaus Schwab, his former assistant. He married his former assistant in 1971, but this could be Venus-Pluto thingy. The wedding took place in Zertig Valley in Reformed Church. The couple lived in Cologne in Switzerland. The Schwabs have two adult children, Nicole, was born in 1975 or 76, and Olivier. Nicole Schwab co-founded the Gender Equality Project. When I hear Gender Equality Project, do you know those people that tie in gender with gender affirming surgeries with gender non-conforming identity? It's like there are so many gender identities. There are people who need gender affirming surgeries, but if you're being indoctrinated that you cannot be gay without having a surgery, you cannot have a gay identity without having a surgery, then this is a bit more than gender affirming surgeries. But if you say there is no such thing as gay, and you negate the unnecessary surgeries with the erasing the entire gender identity and gender scope identity, you are equally criminal. So, this is Schwab. That's the you will own nothing and be happy. Okay. Now I want to take you back to the chart of this person. No, this is the chart of the moment. To the chart of this person. And what we had here. Okay. The ruler of Ra with Ketu being Mars next to Uranus. Venus in Aries. Venus is falling in Aries. Okay, it's Mars sign. Venus squares Pluto. Ruling Mars and Uranus. Conjunct in Mercury. Now for Aries, Aries is around Saturn at the Sun. Aries in Aries is around Saturn at the Sun. People talk about aristocracy. So this is the thing. So an unusual form of, stuff like that. But we saw that the Venusian in his life, to do with territory, with possessions, is highly turbulent and troublesome to him. He wants to have ease. He needs to have trickery and innovation around to perform it. And it's very likely that this is not a person who could do your daytime job. If there is no place for him work-wise in democracy, he will find another way to make a living. He has to innovate to make a living. Uranus in Taurus. To have assets, he needs to innovate. Needs. That's a strong point. A strong point is trickery. And deception that can even be self-deception, okay? He is trying to resolve things within himself. If he doesn't have a place in our democracy, then he will create the world in which he has a place in. By any means, could a person like him, do you think he could work at the 7-Eleven and count the money? He would get confused with this Mercury in conjunct Neptune. To count money? He would get confused. Do you think he could do monotonous job of his job? To be a clerk? He would get confused, he would get bored. He needs to move around, okay? Mars-Uranus is very agitated energy, okay? But he needs to move around finances or around land. What do you want him to do, doggy sitting? Could he make money of doggy sitting? Huh? He needs to be appreciated, to be honored, to receive approvals by the hierarchy. Saturn conjuncting Sun. What would he do? How would we be appreciated, honored? For what? What would he do for a living? It had to be vague. It had to be something that doesn't require him to calculate very much or to deal with the authorities of taxation. Okay, taxation is not just the money that comes out of your pocket. It's the bureaucracy to do with this. As bureaucracy restricting his shine, Saturn, Sun. But if he creates a new world order, now his sun, his exalted sun, is shining over his Saturn. Okay, when we see a chart like this, we need to think about how do we create a chart in which this person would be included, because he would create a whole new world just so that he will have a place in the world. This Aries of his, if he's born in 1985, is around the degree of the Sun and Saturn. So the motive for him to create a new world is just so that he will have a place in the world. And so what happens when with people like that? With people like that, where in their world, they don't care if you have a place in the world. And if you experience what it's like to have no place in the world, they are okay with this because you have let a world be in your so-called democracy where they have no place in the world. Because they need to be self-employed. This is not a person that could be somebody that could be hired by somebody. Except for the academia where he's exalted, okay, because the Sun with Saturn, that he's honored and appreciated, okay, and it's dignified. But other than that, it's not any job that you do, okay? He could not be doing these jobs. Mixed with the calculations, agitated, need to move around, okay? Need to develop something, even technological, but can explode something on the way. So he needs a lot of place to be. In the democracies that we have, he has no place to be because he's lazy, because he's dyslexic, because he's maybe neurodivergent, because he doesn't do well in school. In higher learning, he did very well, okay? But unless he's developing something, this is a kid, unless he's developing something, inventing something, But if he has to work, being an employee is very bad. He needs to have his own freedom. And if he has his business, then he has problems with filing the reports, those things that are detailed and meticulous is vague for him, is too much for him. He doesn't know how to do this. So he creates a new world order where he has a place in the world. The things can go vague and he still makes a lot of money and he gets to do things that he likes. He was concerned a lot about money to facilitate his desire to innovate. Okay, this is a chart of an inventor that has a financial problem to exist. So he creates a whole new world. So he invents a world where he hopes that he has a place in the world. And now how do you do tax evasion? Basically, you own nothing. So you say, I'm inventing a world in which you will own nothing and be happy. You feel you have no place in it. Well, why did you not make a place for me in your world? Aries there with Sun and Saturn is not avert and not above or beneath, building an entire world where the native has a place in the world. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you will have a place in the world. But did you care that he will have a place in the world? No, you said, oh, this person is lazy. He doesn't do calculations well. Oh, maybe he's stealing. He likes to invent things. Oh, but will he make a man of himself? Would he make business? Would he open a business? Would he do something with himself? The only place he could feel belonging is in those secret societies, the cults, or be friends with Kissinger, or receive awards, or be the teacher. And people would cut him some slack because he would be in the right circles and do the right rituals of people. And they would be giving him a sense of belonging, a sense of acceptance and honors and appreciation that he would not get in outside the world. So he built a whole new world where he has a place in it. Okay, this is the story of the chart. It's an order that requires for inclusivity, but here for himself. Aries is the self, okay? But how to counter, okay? How to counter. You say, I don't want to be in this world of the meritocracy or the stakeholders thingy. I don't like this. Then how to counter it is thinking about a structure that is inclusive to people that can't make this calculation, that the reports and the taxation and the bureaucracy, and they can't do it, but they also can't do the 9-to-5 job. They like to innovate, to invent stuff, and they need a place to live and a place to stay. And if they file the report not on time, it's like, it doesn't have to be a big deal. If we don't include these people that have value to give us in society, they will invent a whole new world where they have a place to be. I haven't heard him talking, but I would not be surprised if he could, because this Mercury Pluto thingy, then perhaps he's creating antagonism with his speech, but his Mercury actually, it's not too far from my Mercury. Mine is oppositing Pluto, and I have Aries is next to this. Now, how do I say it without you thinking that I am comparing him to Adolf Hitler? Because I'm reminded Adolf Hitler also had this Mercury in Aries in the same place, but with Adolf Hitler, he was a painter and he did not have a place in the world. He couldn't do the 9-to-5, but he tried to get to academia. Okay, Schwab got to academia. Hitler didn't get to academia. And his theories, the Mein Kampf, the this, the that, the racism, the eugenics, it was the theories that were laying around. His history teacher, and he was in jail, and he read books. This is what was written in the books. he was indoctrinated in this way. If you don't like what he thought, then change the discourse. Okay? And biodiversity is an alternative to eugenics. Permaculture is an alternative to genetic modification of food, okay, GMO. Having enough space and enough connection is an alternative to believing you have to fight, okay. Willing consent is an alternative to overpopulation, okay. You contribute something to the discourse. But if the whole discourse is like the axiom, and you cannot challenge the axiom of racism, bloodline, racial pride, the motherland, and this is what you have. You cannot challenge this discourse, so he works with the discourse. And he couldn't do this job. So what was he to do? He was homeless. He went probably through torture himself. What was he to do? We did not include young artist Hitler in our society, not in academia, not outside of academia. Then he said, okay, I will go to war. Then he learned how to act and make something of himself in his way. And what was he doing? Working camps where he's written Arbeit macht frei. It's a satire, it's a ridicule. But did we build a world that is not based on the value of labor? What is the value of labor? My grandfather was Holocaust survivor. How did he survive? Not by working hard. He was going out of the camp because he used his visibility. He didn't look Irish. He looked Irish, so he was going out of the camp, bringing food into the camp instead of the hard work. Okay, out of the camp, bringing food, going back into the camp. Then when there was the rebellion, ran away. They were shooting at them. Fortunately, he was saved. Lived in the forest. It was very difficult. And then he came to Israel. Worked in a grocery store. People spit at him and say to him, too bad Hitler didn't finish the job. Here, Jewish in Israel. And then he opened his own grocery store that sold fruits and vegetables. So he was always around food. And what do you do in a grocery store? It's not like a big supermarket like an Aldi. Okay? You come, some people come, they buy, they go. If they buy, it's good. If they don't buy, at least you're around food. Food is coming to you. You're in the business of having food. This is why I want to plant forests, because forests saved my grandfather. And I want to grow food because I'm growing with this food also holistically. But what do you do with a person that cannot do the 9 to 5? If you're not inclusive of such people, they will have to either die or change the world so that they have a place in the world. And Schwab here is not anything like Adolf Hitler. He was not a painter. Schwab got into academia. He's a professor in academia. But if you look at the chart, you see this is not a person who could do the 9 to 5. This is not a person who could be correct with the calculations, okay? It's not a person who could file a report on time. Okay? And it's not because he is a liar, a cheater, a this, a that inherently. It's because he doesn't have these qualities of strict order, discipline. Okay, he has discipline when it comes to his shine, to his teachings, to his intellect, his sight even. Okay, if you need to not wear glasses or something like this, maybe he could practice and dedicate and not wear glasses. But when it comes to develop an equation or file a report about numbers or even define his goal, okay, it's not just that you are vague because it's a trick. Sometimes it's difficult for you to actually define something in words. And with this Pluto squaring Mercury and Pluto in Mars sign, Mars next to Uranus, there's so much energy in Pluto in water sign in Cancer. It means that what he wants to say, to communicate, and his moon, what we communicate, is in Pisces. So what he wants to say is beyond words. So it's finding it's anyway it would be vague. Okay, and so we didn't leave a place in society for such people, but to be people that we consider evil or vile or criminal, and so on and so forth. Okay, so while I'm laughing at what happened and so, I also understand that lo and behold, the person who has dyscalculia, a person who cannot do the 9 to 5, a person who is innovation or think tank, innovation oriented, he could have more place in his society than in the society that is currently today. If we are not an alternative in the society, we don't house our people, house the neurodivergent people, house the artists in our society, have inclusive schedules, have bureaucracy that is inclusive. Even with regards to taxation, find solutions that we don't constantly think that people are trying to fool us, or trying to fuck the system, or trying to this, or trying to evade taxation, or trying to this, or trying to that. It's like, do we actually have inclusive systems for people? Because if we don't, it's those people that were not included that are going to create, or they were going to innovate so much to create a world where they have a place in the world. But lo and behold, they don't take none of us into account, because we did not take them into account as society. It's not for nothing this episode began with the ascendant on Aries, and there's going to be Rahu there, there are going to be eclipses there. Okay? We could go Schwab, 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 Schwab. But can we house the homeless? Can an artist make a living? Does a person that walks out of violence has a place to be? Then don't Schwab, 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 because you haven't created an alternative. And that's what needs to change. So this is Schwab. I was sure I would find something to do with medication, but it's not, either it's hidden or I just didn't find, or it's not on Wikipedia. So thank you for watching.